Welcome to the Brand Marketing Podcast, where we talk to local superheroes and hear how they got their start, overcame obstacles, and used social media to achieve their marketing goals. Here's this week's episode.
And we are live. Hello, everybody. This is Cas Thompson, and tonight I'm joined by Rutuja Bandi. How are you doing tonight?
I am really good. Super excited to get started.
Excellent. So thanks for jumping on. In the background, I was asking Rutuja how she got started with social media management. We're going to go into that. But before we start off, I just want to welcome you to the chat. There's nobody else on quite now, but I'm sure that as we keep going, people might pop their heads in, and we'll constantly be asking people to join us on stage. But tonight we're going to be talking about how to grow your brand with social media. So we have a lot in store. But before we start up, I just want to, again, introduce Rutuja. And Rutuja, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a social media strategist. Thank you for having me on this audio event, first of all.
Sure.
I work with clients to help them set up the social media content. Nice. But the most important part of my job is to try and get their magic, the magic they have in their business onto social media. And also set up a lot of systems with them, because not a lot of people know this, but there are so many systems that go into creating a really consistent social media identity. So that's what I do.
Awesome. So we're going to start off right there. Again, I'm excited that you're on the live event with us. It's an audio only event where we're going to talk about all about social media. And I really want to talk to you specifically first about, when you're talking about delivering these systems, how can some of your clients, or even people that are not clients with you, just deliver great content? So if they're not good, or if they're scared, what are some of the systems or tools or resources that you use to help people deliver content?
So the first thing I always do is, I really think that creating content, you need to have a lot of self-awareness as to who you are as a person and what you like talking about and what you don't like talking about. So I think the first step is to sit down and maybe journal for like 30 minutes about what you feel about content and the kind of content you want to create, because a lot of people don't do this crucial step and they just jump in to see what other people are creating.
Right.
They are able to do it for 30 days or 60 days, and then the magic starts disappearing.
Right.
And then they're just like, oh no, social media is horrible and I want to never do it again. Right. So the first step is journaling and to understand who you are as a person. And then the second step is to understand what your brand is all about. So the foundations, what are your values? What's your personality online? If your brand was a person, how would you describe your brand, for example? What are your colors? What are your offers? This is another big issue that I see with clients who I just onboard. They don't know what they want to offer on social media. And a crucial differentiator is that your offline and your online marketing can't be the same. You can be really generic offline, but online it has to be to the point. So I think these two things help creating content that's going to attract your dream client.
Now, I totally agree, and I actually want to commend you on those two answers. So if I heard you right, the first part about really delivering great content, one of the tips you had was journaling, just being true to yourself and taking notes, documenting that process and what you want to really, how you want to communicate online, your brand specifically. And number two was branding. And I'm going to talk a little bit about branding with video, but the quote that you said that I like the most is, if your brand was a person, how would you describe it? Right. So I love that. I'm going to steal that, Rutuja.
That's completely fine.
Yeah. It makes it quite simple. So, even when we talk about branding with video, which I'm going to get into, a lot of people, before they even start the video piece, they need to first identify themselves as a brand. Like, who do they want to show up as, right? And one of the things that Rutuja talked about was, really knowing that there are two sides, your online presence and your in-person presence. And sometimes those two things can match up, and that's okay. But sometimes not everybody online needs to see everything about the personal side, and then vice versa. So the thing I love about video is that you can really create another version of yourself, which could be a truer version, it could be a more conservative version, it could be a more professional version. But in my opinion, video is one of the best ways to brand yourself, right? The other thing
Yeah.
that Yep, the other thing to think about is a lot of people are afraid of jumping into video, right? And I understand it. A lot of people are scared about, what other people might think about them. Sometimes they are afraid to craft a message to be clear and concise. And this is when I have to go back to the journaling piece that Rutuja talked about. As you're coming up with your content, specifically your video content, I think it's okay to identify two or three pillars, meaning subjects or pillars of your subject that you want to talk about. So if you are a painter, it could be how you got started. It could be the education piece. It could be behind the scenes, and to constantly create content around that will make it easier to create video, because that way you're just not making video about just random things. Also, every now and again, it's good to make broad content, but as long as you can find a way to channel the broad content back to your pillars, you're gonna be okay. The
Yeah.
Yep. And then the other thing that people always ask me too is, TikTok is very popular right now. Even on Instagram, you have people dancing, and there's like a lot of trends. And they're like, "Hey, Kaz, I run a business. Do I have to dance?" And the answer is no, you don't have to. But it's okay to do trends. I think that trends do help you grow faster. But the key ingredient, especially for business clients, is that make sure that that trend matches your pillars, right? So if you're just doing a random trend just because, but it still doesn't fit back to your pillar, you just have to just reassess that. But anybody that's on listening and you want to grow your brand with video, video is the easiest way to create a relationship. People can see your eyes. I know we're on an audio
Yeah.
platform right now, but video, we're gonna get there. So Rutuja and I plan on doing a video as well. But we love the audio just to get people fast. But if you're thinking about creating content, don't be afraid of video. Even if you have to start with audio at first, just to warm up to the microphone, to get more confident, to work on your pillars, it's okay. But the end goal is always video, right? So,
Yeah, I
yep,
have
yeah,
actually a few things to add to what you
sure.
just said about
Please,
video.
please do.
I think what you said I 100% agree with that. But I also think that people right off the bat expect to be perfect at video,
Right.
and they spend hours and hours making the first video. So I think even before uploading the first video, trying to create it, I think they need to set expectations in their minds first, that it's okay to not be good enough in the sense of whatever they think is good enough.
Right.
And the first 50 or 100 videos you're going to
Mm-hmm.
create is just for you to understand yourself better. So it's just for you to find out who you are online. So a great tip that I followed was to just say 3, 2, 1, go, shoot a video, 2 takes, and that's it. So if there are mistakes, it's fine.
Right. No, I agree. Three, two, one, go. That's another quote I have to steal from you, Rutuja. 3, 2, 1, go. So I appreciate you chiming in there. Now let's talk about social media overall and growing your brand. Is it good? Is it bad? Is social media the only place? Is it the best place? What are your thoughts there, Rutuja, on growing your brand on
So
social media?
of course, social media is amazing to grow your brand, but as a new business owner, I don't think it's the fastest way possible to get a steady income in your business. So I think social media is more like of a long-term plan. It's like a 3 year, 5 year, 10 year plan. But besides that, you still have to do all the other offline activities that you would need to do ideally, like networking, lead sourcing, prospecting, and use social media as well. And the thing with social media that I've found is it's trial and error, and you need to focus and you need to have systems to grow social media. But when you reach that point where you're like, aha, I got it, then it just grows exponentially.
I so totally agree with you. So you're absolutely right. It definitely takes a lot of practice. Trial and error is key. And then, like you said, just not being afraid to hit the record button and start off by practicing. Right? You might have to make 100 videos, and even after you make the 100 videos, 101 still might not be perfect. But it's important to
Yeah.
also know that done is better than perfect. So the fact that you finished and made it through, that is better than perfect. So if it's at 90%, 95%, you could still put it out and continue to create as you grow and as you get better, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
but I also think it's important to do things even if you are afraid.
Yeah.
Because I think running a business is like that, right? You're afraid all the time.
All the
So
time.
I think that's so important is to train yourself to be afraid and
Right.
still do things.
Now,
Especially video. It's really scary.
yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. I would change the word scared sometimes though to maybe
Mhm.
anxious or nervous.
Oh
And
yeah, those are better
yeah,
words.
yeah, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because even all right, so Rutuja and I, if you're listening in now, later on, um, we're on. It's 6 p.m. here Eastern Standard Time. I think Rutuja is traveling. She's in Tanzania. It might be 1 a.m. in the morning, and even as we're preparing, it's okay to still get nervous. I think that, if you have to, be a public speaker or jump online, even in person, that nervousness that you're feeling is good. It's positive, right? That just means that
Yeah, I love this.
yeah, it means that you care about, what you have to talk about, that you're passionate, right? But what I try to do is, when we have clients and anybody that's listening, what I want you to do is channel that anxiety and that nervousness and turn it into excitement, right? So we talk about mindset a lot. And, when you in your brain, if you just keep on saying, hey, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm nervous, what's going to happen is your body is going to start to react to those words. But if you're like, hey, you know what, I'm jittery and I'm anxious, but it's because I'm excited, and you keep telling yourself, hey, I'm excited, you're passionate. So it's all about just changing the words that you're using to, again, help you with your video, help you with your content, help you remember that you have a purpose, right? And that the content that you're creating is to truly help people or to, bring another message. So listen, Ratuja,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. You
This
listen,
is amazing.
yeah, I
This
love it.
example is
Yeah, I
really
love it. I
nice.
love it. We have to definitely get together soon. So as we close out though, so we ran through it quick. We don't have anybody on the audio, but that's okay. I think this was still fantastic. Ratuja, it's
Yeah.
recorded. But as we close out, right, let's talk about a little bit about planning and preparing again. So again,
Mm-hmm.
part of the planning and preparing phase one is going to help you decrease the anxiety,
Yeah.
decrease the nervousness, be more excited. But it's also, there's also other things that you could put into place, right? So think about
Yes.
the tools that you might need, meaning sometimes having a tripod, having good lighting, right? If you know that you have to record and you're running through and doing all these things, prepare in your mind. It's okay to have a script. Like Ratuja said at the very beginning with journaling, it's good to write things down. So honestly, planning and preparing is almost 80% of the weight that you have to carry in order to make great content, especially video content. Now, the same thing might
Yes.
applies. Yeah, if it's like something in Canva, even if it's a picture, you can still plan and prepare to do that. And the way that I do it, or I teach our students, is, when you're online and you're consuming, I don't like when people consume too much content because we want to turn you into a creator, not a consumer. But look at the competition. It's okay to look at people that are in your industry and study, right? And that's part of the planning and preparing phase to see, what's working, even to look back at your own content and see how people engaged with some of your content in the past and see how they didn't engage and say that, you know what, when I did this style of content, they reacted this way. And that's part of the planning and preparing. So you can't win a game. So take soccer, take basketball, football, American football. You can't win if you don't practice and prepare and plan, right? So I just wanted to end off on that note about planning and preparing. Was there anything else that you wanted to add on that note, Ratuja?
Actually, about planning and preparing, I would like to say
Of
that
course.
I have been really consistent on social media,
Nice.
and the reason for that is to batch create content.
Batch.
And when you start batch creating content, it's hard to be consistent because it's a lot of work,
Right.
and you have to keep trying until you figure out the system. Like, you can't batch create once, give up, and stop.
I agree.
Like, I've given up so many times, but I get back on or get back starting to create content. So I think that's the key in batch creating content, that you keep practicing until you figure out how to do it efficiently.
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate all the tips that you dropped tonight. Again, we don't have anybody live, but this was still a great session. It's
Yeah.
recorded, so we're going to put it out in other places and repurpose this content. But as we wind down, right, Rutuja, if there are anybody, or if there's anybody out there that wants to connect with you, what's the best place for them to find you?
The best place is to send me a message on any of my social media. So LinkedIn, Instagram is amazing because I check LinkedIn and Instagram every single day.
Nice. Awesome. All right. So as I close out, my name is Cas Thompson. And just like Rutuja, if you're on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is the best place. I'm also on Instagram. Now I have to also find Rutuja on Instagram so we could be Instagram buddies as well over there. But again, if you're listening either to the replay or live, I appreciate it. I'm going to sign out now. Rutuja, hang on. I'm going to end, but we'll talk offline.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. The Brand Marketing Podcast is produced by Gladmash. To get access to more brand marketing tips, visit www.brandmarketingblueprint.com.